After 2 months, we finally know the fate for the man responsible for George Floyd's murder. On Friday, Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. It's more than the state's minimum guidelines, but not even close to the 40-year max he could have faced. George Floyd's daughter gave a victim impact statement. If you have not seen it yet, I strongly, it's emotional. Here's some of what she said.
If you could say anything to your daddy right now, what would it be?
It would be, I miss you and I love you. We used to have dinner meals every single night before we went to bed. My daddy always used to help me brush my teeth.
Wow. For the first time, we're also hearing from Derek Chauvin himself, who offered his condolences. Take a look.
At this time, due to some additional legal matters at hand, I'm not able to give a full formal statement at this time. But very briefly, though, I do want to give my condolences to the Floyd family. There's going to be some other information in the future that would be of interest, and I hope things will give you some peace of mind.
So what do you all think? Is 22.5 years enough? How did you feel when you heard the sentence? DBL Nation, we always want to hear from you. Right in. Erica, you're shaking your head. What are you feeling?
You know, to offer condolences and then have like a caveat at the end that is very ominous and strange. I don't know if he's capable of giving the Floyd family any peace of mind. That seems like a weird thing to say. I'm not surprised that it wasn't the maximum. To be honest, I'm still pretty shocked that he was even found guilty to begin with. This is an anomaly of accountability. Obviously the federal case, and there's more charges that are looming, and that may actually mean that he gets some pretty serious time, but you have to understand that there are entire communities of people who are locked up for far longer periods of time for incidents or for whatever that didn't even take a life, you know. So when you're looking at 22 years and you know that there are people locked up for narcotics for far longer than that, it just really gives you pause about some things.
Yeah, I want to address Mr. Floyd's daughter first and foremost, right? Because you kind of go through like a roller coaster of emotion when you're watching that, because being a father, the joy in just seeing that little girl's face puts a smile on my face. But then the reason why she's talking gets you emotional again, right? So it was kind of emotional watching that, even for me, just being a parent. But I think we have to look at, if we can, the glass half full in this situation. I know 22 years isn't enough. Trust me, that's not where I'm going. I'm not taking Derek Chauvin's side. But it's something, and it could be more. I know that apology sounded insincere, and that was a weird little message that he left at the end, but he did apologize. Had he not, we would be talking about how he didn't apologize to the family. So we have to keep these little wins, if you want to call them that, in mind when we're talking about this, even though there's a great bigger subject that we want to talk about.
Jeff, it is a little win. You know, I mean, we could be having a much different conversation, and Erica, sounds like you were prepared to have that conversation, because I don't think if he had been found not guilty or some kind of weird law that they enacted, anybody would have fallen out of their chair. So you're right, Jeff, there is a little win. And as somebody that dropped off his daughter today, I just look at the world so much differently in terms of what I care about and in terms of what's important. And we have these arguments on social media, and we have these arguments on the show about policy and politics. But at the end of the day, there's a little girl that will never have a birthday with her dad again, never have Thanksgiving where the family is whole. There'll always be that empty place there. And that's what I always think about. I think we always just throw, oh, 2 people died, 3 people. Let's rename it and just say 3 families had their world ended today. And I think maybe we'll start to look at death a little bit differently, rather than just this casual thing like, oh, 6 people died anyway. What's Cardi B talking about? I mean, this is catastrophic to a family, Sam. Can you imagine? I couldn't imagine just like not seeing you guys for a year. Like, oh, fall apart.
Yeah, if that were my child, and I get it, I'm a white woman, so I'm sure
you can still have a comment.
No, I know,
you know?
But there would be a difference. I guarantee you, if that was me, not George Floyd, it would have been a life sentence. So let me just say that right there. If that was my child and I was no longer here, and I knew that my murderer would be allowed, even though this is some accountability, I'm not going to call it justice, because justice would be George Floyd still being here. But if I knew that my daughter would grow up without me, and I knew that Derek Chauvin, my murderer, would get out at, I don't know, 60 years old, and still have 15, 20 years, 25 years left to live his life when my life was completely taken away and my whole family's lives were shattered, I don't know if I could get over that. I would be angry. I would be angry from my grave. But let me ask you two this, because I was thinking about this on the way here today. After seeing some sort of accountability, and Erica, you called it an anomaly of a situation considering our systemic racism in the justice system, when you're driving, do you feel a little bit more comfortable considering that Derek Chauvin did face accountability, or do you still fear for your lives? And I'm not painting all police officers, don't get me wrong, but would you still fear for your lives if you were about to be pulled over?
Anytime I follow protocol, like just everything. I mean, even when I've talked about, the break-in in my home, I was very intentional. I'm a Black female. I am the homeowner. My hair is in twists. I am wearing this. The intruder is a white male. He is like, I am the homeowner, because that's just something that's protocol. So I don't think that that's something that ever will go away, period. I mean, I would certainly be very mindful if I had children to also have them know, like, it's just something that you do for survival for so many generations that's not something that goes away based on one person seeing some degree of accountability.
What about you?
I mean, I do, because Erica, you're talking about following protocol. The gentleman that was in his Army uniform had his arms dangling outside of his vehicle. Remember the footage of the two cops that pulled the guy over at the gas station,
right?
And pepper sprayed him, and he was like, "What's going on?" He was following protocol, and it still didn't matter. When I was assaulted by the police, I was absolutely following protocol because I didn't know what was happening or who they were upset at. It turns out it was me. So it's like, for me, every time I see a police officer, I am in fear for my life. Every time they're behind me, anytime they're around me, anytime I think about them interacting with my son. I have a son that's on the spectrum, and I can already see the headlines about he wasn't listening, but I can think, the sirens would scare him. But it would be perfect fodder for the people that are the defenders of the police. Like, well, he was a big kid, we didn't know what to do. So, that's something that I think about for my entire life. And as we saw with Elijah McClain that was killed, who was a very passive kid that played the violin or the saxophone, excuse me.
An animal activist.
Right, and they held him down and shot him up with horse tranquilizer. He was a boy.
Right.
So, I don't have any faith. I just hope that we can avoid.
Yeah, I think that just hearing from you and Erica just goes to show that there still needs to be more work. There's more work to be done.